It's a great pleasure. Many years back, you know, Judy, I'm short, it's close to 20 years now, when we graduated from DIOCESE. And so just seeing you and your husband, we're very delighted to be able to see. It is many years back. I have been asked to just bring a few remarks, and that is what I want to do this evening. I'm doing this on my own behalf and also on behalf of Bishop KABIRU. And when I was asked to come and give remarks and at SK Guest House, it reminded me of about 10 years ago when we sat in the same room in the Diocese of Mbeere. And we were coming here to also launch a chapter for the Diocese of Mbeere and to be able to support the work of the Diocese of Mbeere. And therefore, coming back here, it was a delight to be able to see another chapter of people that are thinking or looking back and wanting to support him. Richard Nixon, a man who was called to remember, that when he sits in the places of influence, that he should not forget about the nation of Israel. And as I was thinking about Richard Nixon, I have been doing a study on the book of Nehemiah and Ezra. And the story of Nehemiah caught my attention as I thought about Richard Nixon. Another gentleman whose story could be related to Richard Nixon is Nehemiah. Nehemiah is a cupbearer, so to say, he's working in the state house, and he has what it takes for him to be called great. But as he sits in the big office, as he rubs shoulders with the king, he remembers that there are people that have come back from exile. And some of them come to visit, and he's not looking at them like mmekuja kusumbua, or he's not looking at them like what have you come to do. He's looking at them and he is inquiring, how are my brothers back at home? Now, by the time he's inquiring that, the temple is already rebuilt. So this is a success story, that the temple is already rebuilt, something is happening. But something that is not happening catches his attention. Because he's told that even if the temple has been rebuilt, the wall of Jerusalem lies in ruins. And that causes him to have a heavy heart. And he goes into action. And when I was invited to come here, I was asking myself, you come from the Diocese of Mumias, and the Lord has been able to settle you. But the person that paid the cost for you to be able to come to the big city, the person that did the investment for you to sit where you are, is down in the village. Would you want to care to know how they are doing? Would you want to care that the church that spoke blessings during your dedication is down in the village? The church where your baptism was done is down in the village. The church where you did your catechism is back in the village. The church where you got your confirmation is back in the village. Actually, I dare say, without fear of contradiction, that we received the Diocese of Nairobi, the Diocese of All Saints. We received the polished version of you. True. The person that paid the cost is down in the village. Like Nehemiah, are you concerned? Would you want to care to find out from your brothers what is happening? Would you want to hear the stories? Would you want to inquire? Would you want to constantly give a call to the village and find out what is happening? And as I share the success stories of what has been done, I pray that you also open your ears to want to know what has not been done. I had an opportunity of being with you for a whole week, of being with your mothers the whole week in December. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful, beautiful conference. I was there for a whole week. And I rubbed shoulders with your mothers. I rubbed shoulders with your sisters. And I saw the joy and the commitment of wanting to be there. Bishop allowed me to say this, that when I went there, I was telling Mama Brenda when we were in Jerusalem for the conference for the president, I was telling her she inspired me so much, and she actually caused me to know that things are doable. we had over 500, 600 mothers. Do you want to know where they were sleeping? Do you want to know where they were sleeping? They were sleeping in a high school. They were sleeping in classrooms. Yes. They were sleeping in classrooms. That is where they were sleeping. As we enjoyed the comfort of Nairobi, that's where your mommy was sleeping. In a classroom and on the floor. Because she could not be left out in the Mothers Union Conference. She did not want to be left out, even if it meant sleeping on the floor. I don't know what that does to your heart. And I also don't know what that does to your heart when probably you sit and you probably might want to know that the priest that serves your mother, who serves your guardian back in the village, may not have been paid for 3 months. But will constantly go to find out if your parents and your siblings are okay. It may also interest you to know that some of the projects that are down in the village have not been completed. And they are a reflection of the extent to which we have supported the village. Like Richard Nixon, I pray that this call would come in the night. I pray that this call and this burden will be laid in your heart to know that we will call you to support the Diocese of Nairobi. We will call you to support Diocese of All Saints. We will call you to support the Diocese of Kabiru. And we know that you support. I've had the people from St. Stephen's, from St. Philip Jericho, from St. Matthew's Hadi. I know that you support. But supporting the village does not make it impossible for you to support here. It is possible for you to support the village. Like Richard Nixon made that call come in the night. And therefore, 4 things that I want to leave with you as we reflect this evening. Like Nehemiah, don't get comfortable and forget. Don't get comfortable and forget the cradle that raised you. Don't forget the kitchen that fed you. Even if you are in the comfort of Nairobi, even if you are in the comfort of the city, do not get comfortable and forget. Constantly inquire from your family. Constantly inquire from your vicar. Inquire from the bishop what is happening in the village. And want to be involved in the state of your homeland. When you listen like you will listen this evening, when you listen, don't just listen and walk away. Don't listen and trivialize. Listen and take action. And I want to invite you to take action from 2 perspectives. Number 1, I pray that you take action at the place of prayer. As you pray for the peace and prosperity of Nairobi, please pray for the peace and prosperity of Mumias and Western Kenya. Take action. Do not ignore the cards that we receive. I also receive from the Diocese of Mumias. And sometimes they're not asking for too much. They're only asking for you to support the Mothering Sunday, the Talent Week. They're not asking you to support every Sunday. They're asking you to support designated projects. My friends, we can't go broke because of supporting our home diocese. Want to take action. Want to take action at your parish level. Want to take action at the diocesan level. I know that this year there will be another family day. I know that this year the conference is already underway. Want to inquire about the conference of the Mothers Union. I also want to propose to you that we have begun today, and the provost has just left, and I felt like he had looked at my notebook when he was going away. I pray that this will not be a hit and run. I pray that this will not be a hit and run. I pray that this chapter becomes a reality. And like Reverend Philip has mentioned, this old avocado tree, I pray that it can be rejuvenated, that you can craft a few people so that it is not an old avocado tree. Craft a few people. Bring on board those that are out there that belong to your fold. I therefore want to propose to you, commit to the end. Do not do a hit and run. Commit to the end. As you commit to the end like Nehemiah, the story is likely to be the same. There are going to be rough patches along the way, but commit to the end. There's going to be a little abrasion because we may not agree in whether this is black or white or whether it is gray, but commit to the end. And lastly, I want to invite you to please invite others into the course. I have had a gentleman there saying he's a child of a pastor. And I was listening to the many things that you say, that my father is the late Reverend who went to be with the Lord 2 years ago. But we can see the remnant in this room. Isn't that beautiful? Yes. The daughter to Reverend Philip is here. Yes. And therefore, and the grandchild is here. And therefore it is possible to bring in other people. As I stand here, I stand as a child of a clergy, of a retired canon in the Diocese of Kirinyaga. And every time I stand up, I keep on asking myself, Canon Moses did so much. And some of the benefits that I receive, I know I don't even deserve. I know that it is my father that is being paid for many of the things that I enjoy. The warm reception I received, that I received when I came from the Diocese of Mumias, I knew it was not my honor. I knew Bishop Wandera was not just honoring me, he was honoring his friend Canon Moses. And I keep on asking, what about my 3 children? What honor will they receive? I'm receiving the honor from my father. What honor will they receive because of me? Bring them on board. Make sure that the people from the Mumia soil remember that they are from that soil, and let them add value. Can I shock you? Nehemiah chapter 2 verse 20 is a reassurance but also a great warning. When Nehemiah chose to commit to the cause and not to do it as a hit and run, this is what he said. He answered in Nehemiah chapter 2 verse 20. The God of heaven will give us success. And sometimes I like reading this text to myself. And so let me read it to myself and you can eavesdrop as I read it. Faith. Whether you get committed to the Diocese of Mumias or not, whether you take it trivial or not, the agenda of God in Mumias will come to fruition. It is not dependent on us. It is a privilege. It is not dependent on us. It may go quiet for a year. It may go quiet for 3 years. But the Lord will raise his own to support the Diocese of Mumias. The God of heaven will give us success. We, his servants, will arise and rebuild. The little remnant will rise and they will rebuild. But what shocks me is a part B of that text. But as for you, those that did not support, you have no share in Jerusalem or any claim or historic right to it. How would we be connected from our home diocese? How would we be disconnected from the very place that raised us? It's a privilege that Bishop has called us. And Bishop will remain very, very grateful, especially Bishop and I, remain very grateful that we will be considered to be partakers in the Diocese of Mumias, which is not our home diocese, but we have been grafted in the Diocese of Mumias. We consider it a great privilege. I do not want to be cut off and not to have any right to the blessings in the Diocese of Mumias. Can I tell you something small? And I know clergy are here, so please let me not be quoted out of context. Can I tell you something? When I was invited to go and speak to the women in the Diocese of Mumias, it was in December. And the exams were beginning the very day, my exams were beginning the very day I was going to the DIOCESE of Mumias. And I talked to my husband and I said, man, I'm going to miss my exams. My husband said, you have to read these to know whether to leave the exam, go to DIOCESE of Mumias, or probably you talk to Mama Brenda and tell her to consider you for next year. Just weigh your options. And I decided to call my supervisor. So I called my supervisor, Dr. Zippy. I told her, this is what is happening. And these were the words of Dr. Zippy. Faith, go to Mumias. You can sit for your exams. I mean, just write and apply. You can do these exams next semester, the third week. And somehow I felt such a relief because that was my supervisor. And so I wrote a letter and I went down to Mumias. And when I went down to Mumias, I must admit this, and Bishop will probably be hearing it for the first time. We had not met with Bishop Wandera face to face. We had talked on phone, but we had not met face to face. We had not met with Mama Brenda. And therefore, as a good Anglican, I know that you cannot ask him, Baba Askofu ni nani? Mama Askofu ni nani? I knew there's a level of manners. And therefore, I looked out for a lady who seemed active and who seemed to know the terrain of the area. And I saw this lady who was moving from one corner to another, one corner to another. And I called her. I told her, I am your guest speaker, and I don't know Mama Askofu. So you're going to take me to Mama Askofu, and I want you to be very wise. You're going to go and show me by a sign that's Mama Askofu. So that when I get there, I say hi to her as Mama Askofu. And so she said, you can count me with that. And so we went and she went and had Mama Askofu. I said, Mama Askofu, good to see you. I knew that's Mama Askofu. And so I went and I said hi to her. I said, oh, and I hugged her. And I knew, that is Mama Brenda. And so from there, that lady started making a joke. She would ask me, nani mwingine unataka kujua? And so somehow we rubbed shoulders in such a nice way with her. And after that, I left. And when I was leaving, we had a small discussion with this lady. She actually happened to be an archdeacon's spouse and the chair of clergy spouses. And so we rubbed shoulders a bit, and then from there I came back to Nairobi. And by then, the elections of Nairobi had not started. So the elections of Nairobi began. And when elections of Nairobi began, do you want to hear this part of the story? Yes. When the elections of Nairobi began, we begin with the search committee, and then after the search committee, we go to the electoral college. 16 from the diocese and 7 from the province. And you will not believe this. Mumias diocese is a fertile ground. If you don't want to believe, you go home after dinner. That is your business. When the 7 were chosen from the Archbishop's office, do you remember the lady that was taking me around? The lady that was telling me, nani mwingine unataka kujua? The husband was actually in the electoral college. Wow. Yes. I did not go to look for votes. I was invited to speak, and humbly I honored. And the lady that took me round was actually the wife to one of the archdeacons that actually had one of the votes for Nairobi. Amen. I don't know what opportunities have been given to you in the Diocese of Mumias, but can I read this again? People of the Diocese of Mumias, good evening. Good evening. Whether you want to engage or not, the God of heaven will give us success. Amen. We, his servants, will arise and rebuild. Amen. But as for you who will not want to get engaged, you will have no share in Mumias, no claim or any historical right. God bless you.